At the beginning of the movie, we see the main character, Joe Harding, arriving at the bank to find out why he received a foreclosure notice. The bank manager tells him that it means he owes money to the state. When Joe asks why his mortgage payment has tripled, the manager reminds him that the reduced interest rate promotion has ended and that he now has to pay 3 times more. The old man is outraged because he lives with his daughter and his granddaughter, and they cannot afford to lose their home. Furthermore, when signing the agreement, the manager said the probability of the rate increasing was minimal. But now, the manager stands firm in his position.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to make a withdrawal.
At that moment, 3 masked thieves burst into the bank. They demand that everyone except the cashiers lie flat on their backs, raise their arms and legs, and freeze in the cat pose. Following the instruction, the manager begins to complain. One of the thieves notices him and tells him to shut up. Then, Joe says his muscles have cramped up, and the thief allows the old man to sit up. Joe hands the thief his foreclosure envelope. As the thief takes it, Joe notices a tattoo on his neck. The thief sympathizes with Joe's financial situation and says that society has an obligation to look after the older generation. When Joe complains that the manager doesn't care, the thief takes the manager's wallet. Then, the thieves exit the bank. Later, our protagonist gives his testimony, telling the police about the tattoo on the thief's neck. He suggests looking for the tattoo shop that made the design to locate the criminals. The FBI agent treats him with irony, but thanks him anyway. Joe's daughter, Rachel, and his granddaughter, Brooklyn, come to pick him up from the police station. On the way home, Brooklyn asks her grandfather everything about what he saw. She is thrilled that Joe witnessed a bank robbery, but Rachel does not share her enthusiasm. That night, Joe watches the news and sees the same FBI agent repeating his words about the tattoo, the very words he had mocked earlier. The news also shows a sketch of the tattoo, asking anyone who recognizes the artist to contact the authorities. The next day, Joe and his friends Willie Davis and Albert Garner discuss the robbery while playing bocce. They agree that the robbery was carried out very professionally. They also discover that all 3 have received letters from the pension department of the factory where they used to work. Later, it turns out that the factory is closing, moving all production to Vietnam, and the pension fund will be canceled. Semtex Steel has frozen all pension payments during this transition period. That night, the 3 friends sit in a diner, trying to figure out what to do next. Joe suggests hiring a lawyer. Willie objects, saying they probably wouldn't live long enough to see the court's decision. When Joe gets home, he finds another notice from the bank, this time a red one, stating that his house will be taken away in a month. During his next medical appointment, Willie learns that he urgently needs a kidney donor. Due to his age and insurance situation, he is at the bottom of the transplant waiting list, so the chances of finding a donor on his own are almost 0. Willie promises to ask his relatives and friends, but during a video call with his daughter and granddaughter, he does not mention his illness. Meanwhile, Albert gives saxophone lessons to a teenager, but the boy doesn't know how to play at all. The student hates the saxophone, and Albert tells him not to torture himself, the instrument, or him anymore. Leaving the student's house, Albert chats with the boy's grandmother, Annie, who flirts with him and tells him she saw him play with the famous jazz musician Stan Getz in 1977. Joe picks up his granddaughter from school, even though she insists she is already old enough to walk home alone. After all, she is already 14. Brooklyn shows him her biology exam, which she passed with an excellent grade, and reminds him that he promised to buy her a puppy for her good grades. That night, the friends gather at a restaurant to celebrate Willie's birthday. They gift him a wristwatch with a photo of his granddaughter, and he puts it on immediately. Suddenly, Joe says he has been thinking about the bank robbery. Everyone laughs it off, but then Joe shows them the bank notices and explains that he is about to lose his home. The banks have ruined millions of lives without ever suffering the consequences. Joe suggests that the 3 of them rob a bank, escape with the money, and secure their retirement. In the worst-case scenario, they will end up in prison, which means a bed, 3 meals a day, and better medical care than they have now. Joe is convinced they won't get caught because they have experience and skills on their side. After the party, they call each other on the phone and Willie agrees to join the robbery. Albert refuses at first, but finally relents. As a rehearsal, the friends decide to steal groceries from the supermarket where Annie works. Willie and Joe leave Albert in the car, but he follows them anyway. Annie notices him immediately, helps them choose products, and flirts with him. Albert insists he is not looking for any kind of relationship. Meanwhile, Willie and Joe's actions attract the attention of the store's security. The men try to slip out discreetly and get into the car with the stolen merchandise, but they realize Albert is not at the wheel, meaning they cannot escape immediately. Joe then steals an electric mobility scooter from one of the customers. At that moment, The security guard blows his whistle and Willie jumps inside a shopping cart. After a brief chase, during which Willie uses a bag of flour as an improvised smokescreen, they are caught anyway. Albert is also detained, even though he didn't steal anything. The guard simply ran after him and he reacted. All their actions are recorded on camera, but the store manager forgives the unfortunate thieves since they are quite old. He even gives them discount coupons and asks them not to steal again, or at least not in his store. On the way out, Albert becomes furious, refuses to let his friends into his car, and calls them completely useless thieves. As he drives off, Willie sighs and admits Albert is right. Joe decides they need the advice of a professional. They get in touch with Joe's ex-son-in-law and ask him to introduce them to someone capable of committing a crime. Meanwhile, Albert returns to the supermarket, where he meets Annie again. He tells her once more that he is not looking for a relationship, but the woman insists that this is no reason to deny themselves pleasure. They end up having dinner together and spending the night. The next morning, Albert shows up at the diner in a very good mood, but still refuses to participate in the robbery. At the same time, Willie is reading the newspaper. Their pension funds are being confiscated by the very bank that plans to take Joe's house. The three friends have been loyal customers of that bank for many years, only to discover now that it is stealing their retirement money. The friends are shocked. This is the last straw, and Albert finally agrees to participate in the robbery. They go to see Jesus, a pet store owner who is also a professional criminal. The men promise him 25% of the earnings and no risk, as they will handle everything themselves. Jesus explains to them that robbing a bank can cost them a life sentence if they get caught. Joe argues that he has nothing to lose. His house will soon be taken away and his pension is gone. The criminal is impressed by Joe's speech and agrees to help. That night, sitting in a pub, the friends discuss how much money to take from the bank. Joe calculates how much was stolen from them and says that if they manage to get more, they will donate the difference to charity. With Jesus' help, they create a detailed plan. They learn the location of the cameras, prepare a getaway vehicle, start exercising to improve their physical condition so they don't look old, and arrange solid alibis. The aspiring thieves even practice shooting, but Jesus warns them that killing someone during a robbery is one of the worst mistakes they could make. The friends agree among themselves to surrender if the police arrive. Finally, the morning of the robbery, Joe takes his ex-son-in-law home and teaches him how to prepare a proper breakfast, just in case Joe ends up in prison. Brooklyn is pleasantly surprised. Later, Joe tells her that her father will pick her up from school today. The girl promises to give her father a chance to make amends in their relationship, and Joe gives her a long, heartfelt goodbye hug. The ex-son-in-law tries to dissuade Joe from his plan, but Joe says his problems are his own. If Joe does not return from the robbery, his ex-son-in-law must finally take responsibility and look after his daughter. To secure their alibi, Joe, Willie, and Albert volunteer at a charity fair. At the right moment, they all sneak away from their booths, change their clothes, and head to work in a small stolen van. Joe gives his friends weapons loaded with blanks to ensure no one gets hurt. The men put on masks of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr., then enter the bank, lock the doors, and fire a shot into the air. Terrified, people drop to the floor. While the cashiers fill the bags with cash, a little girl hands over her doll, thinking the thieves will take it too. Willie tries to comfort her, talking to her about his granddaughter. Suddenly, he begins to feel unwell. Willie collapses, and the little girl, trying to help him breathe, almost pulls off his mask. She also notices the same wristwatch with the photo of his granddaughter on the dial. Taking advantage of the thieves' confusion, a bank employee presses the alarm button, and the manager grabs the guard's gun that had fallen to the floor. The manager threatens the friends and orders them to lie down. Joe threatens him back, but in the end, the manager fires an entire magazine without hitting the target even once. Joe tells the manager he is about to meet his maker and fires the gun himself. When the manager starts screaming, Joe tells him the bullets are blanks. The thieves order everyone to count out loud from 90 to 1, then get into the vehicle and drive away. By the time the police arrive at the bank, the friends have already stopped the stolen vehicle. Grabbing the bags of money, they manage to steal $2,300,000, and each goes their own way. That night, the friends celebrate their successful robbery at a restaurant, where Albert plays the saxophone on stage. After drinking heavily, they head home singing, but Willie suddenly feels sick again. Meanwhile, the FBI begins its investigation, led by the same agent who previously interviewed Joe. Reviewing the security footage, they determined that one of the thieves is African American and no younger than 70 years old. Joe and Albert visit Willie in the hospital, where the doctor tells them he urgently needs a kidney transplant. Meanwhile, Willie watches the news in his room. The bank manager gives an interview, claiming the thieves were very young and agile as they managed to dodge all the bullets. Albert is furious because Willie didn't tell them about his medical condition, while Joe says he is ready to donate his own kidney tomorrow if necessary. At the same time, the FBI agent appears on the news, saying the thieves were probably elderly. The manager of the supermarket, the same one where the three friends once tried to steal groceries, contacts the FBI. He compares the surveillance footage and realizes that the height, weight, and even the walking style of the suspects match. The FBI arrests Joe and Albert. Willie, due to his health, remains in the hospital. The agents interrogate the three friends about what they were doing on the day of the robbery. They all tell the same story: how they woke up, ate breakfast, and worked at the charity fair. Witness testimonies are also gathered: a restaurant waitress, a man with dementia, and a friend of the trio. Albert says that during the robbery, he was in the bathroom because he has severe intestinal problems. Joe claims he was selling tickets at the fair booth, while Willie worked in the haunted house, scaring visitors. After the robbery, Albert melted the masks and fake weapons in a factory furnace, then re-entered the bathroom, removed a detachable back wall, and walked out the door just as he had entered, all of which was recorded on the surveillance video. Meanwhile, Joe took a taxi to see Jesus and handed him the bags of money to launder it, and Willie returned the stolen vehicle to its place. Afterward, the three returned to their booths at the fair, and their presence was caught on camera, giving them solid alibis. The FBI agent admits the story seems irrefutable, but insists that all criminals make a mistake eventually, and that is how their plans fall apart. He takes Joe and Albert to the hospital where Willie is. There, they place Willie and several filler elderly men in wheelchairs and bring them to the gym. Then, they bring in the little girl from the bank, the one Willie comforted and who almost took off his mask. She walks past the suspects and the other old men, then stops in front of Willie and pulls on the agent's jacket. When he kneels beside her, the little girl says she does not see the man she spoke to during the robbery. The agent is stunned. He asks if she is sure, and she nods. Joe tries to hide a smile. The girl repeats that the man is not there and asks if she can go home. The agent reluctantly agrees. The little girl smiles at Willie. Sometime later, Joe is sitting in a restaurant when Jesus enters, carrying a large pet carrier with a puppy inside. Jesus says all the vaccinations are ready, the medical papers are in order, and everything is fine. Joe asks if Jesus took his share, but he shakes his head and says, "It is society's duty to take care of the older generation." Joe remembers that the bank thief said the exact same phrase. He asks Jesus where his neck tattoo went, and Jesus explains that it was drawn with henna, just to throw off the investigation. At that moment, the FBI agent enters the restaurant, and Joe discreetly warns Jesus. But the agent only comes to return Joe's wallet, which had been kept in the evidence locker. Joe introduces Jesus to the agent and tells him he runs a dog shelter. They shake hands, and the agent asks if Joe is going to keep the puppy. Joe explains it is for his granddaughter, who is now an honor student. The agent asks if he can see the puppy. He kneels by the carrier, looks through the grate, and speaks affectionately to the dog, unaware that there are stacks of bills taped to the top of the carrier. Joe says it is time to take the puppy home before his granddaughter returns from school. He, the agent, and Jesus leave the restaurant, and a waitress approaches the table. She complains that Joe, once again, left her tip in loose change. But underneath the napkin with the note, there is a stack of $100 bills. The community center where the friends used to spend time with other retirees also receives a donation. In the hospital, Willie undergoes a kidney transplant. Albert is his donor. Seeing how happy Brooklyn is with the puppy, Joe reflects that in life, if you're lucky, you meet a few good friends, the kind that stay with you until the end.